Javaris Crittenton was supposed to be an NBA star, but instead he's in prison for decades. When he was just 15 years old, he showed up a young LeBron at a tournament, and he led his high school to 2 state championships. And you would think Javaris had a really tough background, right? No. He had it all. Adults looking after him, great grades, big talent, but he made one decision that ruined everything. In the end, the class president of his high school ended up in prison until 2038. But Javaris is not the victim here. An innocent woman with 4 kids lost her life. It still begs the question though, how did an NBA player that studied the Bible end up ruining everything? Javaris' mom Sonia had him when she was a junior in high school. Dad wasn't around, so Atlanta basketball helped raise her son. Javaris played with guys like Dwight Howard or Josh Smith as a kid, but he made a name for himself when he burned LeBron James at that one-on-one youth tournament. Every Atlanta high school wanted him after that, but he chose Southwest Atlanta Christian to play with Dwight Howard, where Javaris became class president. Dude had a 3.5 GPA, scored a 1400 on the SAT, and on the court, he and Dwight dominated. Javaris took over the state championship game as a sophomore before Dwight left for the NBA. As a senior, Javaris averaged 29 points, 9 assists, and 7 boards with another state chip. Javaris was named Mr. Basketball in the state of Georgia and a McDonald's All-American. After 1 year at Georgia Tech, the Lakers took him 19th overall, and he moved out of Atlanta for the first time with his girlfriend Mia. Imagine living your dream in Los Angeles playing with Kobe, but still not being happy with your role in the NBA. Phil Jackson told the media he's got to be patient, and he is not a patient young man. Javaris barely played 12 of the first 30 games for the Lakers. Then he finally broke out, dropping 19 points in 23 minutes, 79% from the field, which was the perfect time for the Lakers to trade him. So they sent him to Memphis in a package for Pau Gasol. And it was a good decision. LA made the finals that year. They won the title with Pau the next year. But Javaris wasn't bitter. He even left a note inside a Bible for his girlfriend that said, "You can't make plans, only God can." He averaged just 7 points and 3 boards in 18 minutes for Memphis as a rookie, but he went back to LA in the offseason to train and visit his girlfriend. But while they were out one night, Javaris met a gang-affiliated Atlanta rapper named Dalla, and they became friends. They kept in touch, but Javaris went back to Memphis where the Grizzlies had already traded him to the Wizards. And yeah, getting traded sucks, but his life actually changed on one Wizards flight back from a road trip playing the Suns. Gilbert Arenas was making fun of Javaris for losing $1,000 in a card game, and Gilbert said he would, quote, shoot Javaris in the face for some reason. So Javaris threatened back, "Oh yeah, I'll shoot you in your knee and ruin your career." Well, Gilbert didn't think that was very nice, so he brought 4 unloaded guns to the locker room with a sign that just said, "Pick one." So Javaris pulled out a loaded gun in the locker room and threw it on the floor, which hit a trainer in the foot. They ended up squashing their beef, but the damage was done. Gilbert and Javaris were suspended the rest of the season and charged with a crime. Arenas was good enough that it was just a blip and he played for 3 more years. Javaris was not good, and he couldn't get an NBA team to touch him. So he moved back to LA to try to revive his career, but things had changed. Dalla was murdered in broad daylight. Javaris felt ashamed of his suspension, so he drew closer to the gang that Dalla was in because they didn't judge him. Then, in retaliation to Dalla's murder, 2 of Javaris' new friends murdered someone else on the street and had Javaris buy them plane tickets to get out of LA. Police got involved, and Javaris got so freaked out, he went to China to play basketball. While he dominated in China, he felt so far away from the NBA that he quit and just took a much lower paying job in the D-League. Things started to go downhill on the court though. Javaris scored just 9 points with 5 turnovers in his final D-League game that year. He went back to Atlanta to figure out his next move, but he was robbed by a gang member outside of a barbershop for $55,000 in jewelry. And that really hurt because Javaris had no money coming in at this time, was almost broke. So Javaris and his brother decided to get revenge. They rented a car and found the man that had robbed them walking around one Saturday night. He was walking with a woman who we now know had 4 kids. And when Javaris pointed the barrel of a gun outside that car window, the gang member used that woman as a human shield, and she was hit in the thigh, which severed an artery. She died later at the hospital, and a police investigation was launched. Several witnesses identified Javaris, and police eventually found the rental car with gunpowder residue in the back seat. They arrested him, but they did not find the weapon inside his apartment, so Javaris was released on bail soon after. He moved back to LA, got back involved with the gang, and because he needed money, he decided to be a drug runner, moving product from the east to the west coast. The problem was, feds had wiretapped a phone, and they arrested 13 people involved with the drug scheme, including Javaris. He was sent back to Atlanta, and instead of fighting the case, he just pled guilty to the murder, and he was sentenced to 23 years in prison. Now, doing research for this story, I read that Javaris joined the gang because he needed protection as a Laker. I think that's totally untrue. He joined them when he went back to LA after already being traded to the Grizzlies because he made friends at that nightclub. He didn't join a gang when he was a rookie as a Laker. He did, though, start carrying a gun after getting robbed as a rookie, and that is why he had one during the locker room incident with Gilbert Arenas. And Arenas actually says he still talks to Javaris on the phone all the time, and they talk about basketball. Javaris wants to know, how is Steph Curry playing and who is competing for the title? But Arenas says Javaris is actually a good dude who just got caught up in the wrong scene and got unlucky to be suspended. Commissioner David Stern came down super hard on them because the NBA had an image problem in the 2000s. I mean, after the Malice in the Palace, the last thing they needed was a gun incident in the locker room. If Javaris hadn't been in a contract year, he might have continued to play in the NBA like Arenas and be able to revive his career. But instead, he never played again. We'll never know if Javaris would have been a decent player after he found a role in the league, but he only had a 2-year career on 3 teams before getting blackballed after the Gilbert Arenas thing. But still, even though this dude is in prison after being a star student in high school or whatever, the only person that I actually feel bad for is that woman who lost her life and also her 4 kids who are growing up without a mom. But Javaris will not be free until the year 2038. Speaking of the Malice in the Palace, we always hear it from the side of the fans and the league and how it put a black eye on the league, but whatever happened to Jermaine O'Neal? People talk about Ron Artest all the time because it all started with him, but dude, Jermaine also got suspended. Jermaine had this crazy flying punch that people forget about, and what's really inspiring is what happened to Jermaine after that, and I made a whole video about it here.